Hi and hello, watch fans, and welcome to another edition of the Real Time Show. With me, your friendly neighborhood jeweler. Alain Ben Joseph is the master watchmaker, a Dutch legend who lived a long time in Switzerland, but thankfully is back for an audible Dutch party in your ears. Pim Koeslag, owner and managing director of horological watch brand Christiaan van der Klaauw. Welcome, Pim.
Thank you. Very happy to be here.
Very happy to have you on the mic. It took some time. You're a very busy man, literally jetting all around the world, but always available for me whenever I need a special request for a Christiaan van der Klaauw watch for our collectors. I drove you crazy with our collab. We're driving you crazy to create an amazing astronomical TRTS collab. But I'm happy that I got you on the mic just before Geneva Watch Days. We're both going to travel there. This is going to air only after the 10th of October because there's a big announcement. But before we talk about that, Pim, please give an intro to our dear listeners, who you are, where you're from, and the journey up to your position at Christiaan van der Klaauw, the brand.
With pleasure. Born in Holland, and I did the watchmaker school in Holland as well, in Amsterdam. And I think that was like 25 years ago, something like that. During the watchmaking school, I did some internships. The first one I did was with the brothers Gruneveld in the eastern part of Holland, where I was born as well. And I learned a lot there from them. And then I got like a prize for best watchmaker at the watchmaking school. That was actually another internship at Patek Philippe in Geneva. And so that was another very, very important step and very important learnings there in Geneva at Patek Philippe. Then I met a guy, a Dutch owner of Frédéric Constant, which at the time was a very, very small company. I met Peter Stas in, I think it was in 2002, where we got a little discussion, and he was like, "Wow, it's amazing that you're coming to Geneva. Let's meet." And we talked a little bit, and he was telling me about this vision that he had about making his own manufacture in-house movement. And at the time, it was like a huge discussion in the watch industry that a brand like Frédéric Constant and others, by the way, especially in the mid-range price level, they were buying a lot of movements from ETA and other companies, movement manufacturers. But ETA was the biggest one. And they just announced that they will stop delivering movements to companies or brands like Frédéric Constant. So Peter thought, okay, I have to find another way. So let's make my own movement. And this was a discussion which I had with him. And he said, okay, if you can, and of course, it's a big decision, but he offered me a job. So did Patek after my internship. But I chose to go and work for Frédéric Constant in Geneva instead of Patek Philippe. And that decision, I get a lot of questions. Is that do you still or do you regret that decision, or you're still happy about that? And to be honest, it was probably the best decision of my life, because I still find Patek one of the nicest brands in the watch industry. But this I was like a small part of the big chain. Maybe at the time were 1,000 or 1,500 people working for Patek. And then as a watchmaker, you can probably touch a tourbillon or something interesting only after 7 or 10 years, maybe even more. And at Frédéric Constant, I had the possibility to create something, to be part of this research and development group, and to create something that after years and years you can say, well, look, I was part of that. And that's what I liked about this challenge with Frédéric Constant. So I started there in 2002, late 2002. And I worked there until 3 years ago. So yeah, quite over 20 years I worked for Frédéric Constant. Of course, the company changed a lot. We can go back to that a little bit later if you're interested. But after this, I was technical director, and we started a company called the Atelier de Monaco, together with Peter Stas. And there was a CEO of that brand as well. And we had, in the meantime, acquired Alpina watches, which is in a mid-range price, but more like sporty kind of brand, compared with Frédéric Constant, that was much more a classic brand in the mid-range. And Atelier de Monaco is really high-end. Really, really high-end. So after those 20-something years in Geneva, I decided with my family to go back to Holland. I have my wife, 3 kids, and they were all born there in that region, in Switzerland. But we were together as a family, thought, okay, let's go to the next step, and let's go back to my roots and to my wife's roots, and go live in Holland. And the first year that I lived there, year I have to say, because I still live in Holland, was I still worked in Geneva, and I went back and forth. Monday morning, I stepped on a plane to Geneva until Thursday evening, and then I flew back to be with my family for 3 days, so long weekend, which was very nice, but a little bit tiring. And in the middle of that year, I had a discussion with one of our retailers, and I heard that the brand Christiaan van der Klaauw, or the owners of the brand Christiaan van der Klaauw at that time, Daniel Maria Rijntjes, they were looking for follow-up for the next generation. And so I thought, okay, let's give that a try. So I called Daniel, and we had a nice discussion. A couple of days later, we met each other. And I think, to sum it up, 3-4 months later, I became majority shareholder of the brand Christiaan van der Klaauw, which I am still today. And lots of things changed as well. But that's a little bit a short quick sum up of my life in the watchmaking industry.
You are such an amazing guest. Thank you for that. You have given me hardly any work on this episode, and I'm sitting back relaxed. And I know the majority of these stories because I'm proud and honored to call you a friend. And we've been actually working quite some time both on the FC side of group of things and the Christiaan van der Klaauw things. While I was listening to you, I actually have a question for you I've never asked you. What makes you tick? What drives you? Because I know that you seem young. You are very young in your demeanor and way of behaving, but you are already a veteran in the industry. So where do you find the energy? Because you are always super high pace, although none of your calibers have a high frequency, let's say 36,000 beats per hour.
Well, we did some 40 hertz. Huh?
Yeah. You actually had something to do with that. I'm right. But today, yeah. But where do you find the energy and what drives you to be so active and pushing the boundaries so far?
That's a good question. I think the thing that drives me is making beautiful products, to sum it up. And that's really, for me, a beautiful product is two things. It is aesthetically, of course, that should give you a wow factor, but also technically. And that's the beauty of this product. And that's something that you can make another wow factor with the technique, with the technology inside, innovations. And that's probably why guys like watches, like cars. Cars is the same kind of thing. You know, it should look beautiful, and that could be a reason to buy it. But the technique or the technical innovations inside the car, that could also be a reason to buy it. But at the end, you want a beautiful product, and it's pure passion. So that's what's driving me.
Why did you become a watchmaker initially?
Well, it has a little bit to do with the thing that I just said, because I wanted to be a jewelry maker. And none of my family members, or, well, that's also a funny story. I'll tell that a little bit later. But none of my parents or there's something in the creativity or technique. But I wanted to be a jewelry maker, and I went to the watchmaking school, which is actually a mix of jewelry making, hand engraving, silversmith, goldsmith, and also watchmaking. And in the first year, you get like a mixed year, so you can taste a little bit of everything. And after 2 weeks, I was sure that I did not want to be a jewelry maker, but a watchmaker. Because, again, this mix between aesthetics and technical innovation is, for me, like the perfect mix. This is really how I became a watchmaker. And now, quickly back to that funny story that I was talking about. While I was studying at the watchmaking school, I was at the library, and while everybody is going out to have, still Dutch, get a sandwich somewhere and then eat it quickly, I went to the library and ate there because I wanted to have as much information about watchmaking as possible. And I was reading a book, and I saw my own name, my family name, in the book, in the history book. So I then discovered that my family in 1600 something was a clockmaker. I didn't know. So at the end, It is in my family. It was in my family, but it was the fact that I discovered after making the decision to be a watchmaker is kind of kind of special, I guess.
Serendipity. It was meant to be. It runs through your veins and it's in your DNA. Please tell the story that as a student in the Vakschool Amsterdam, so the watchmaker's school in Amsterdam, you took a trip as a young boy to Jouren in Friesland, the original atelier of
Christiaan van der Klaauw. Yeah, true. No, that's also it feels all meant to be, I have to say. Christiaan did he came to a watchmaking school and he was teaching or explaining to the classmates about his watches, about his clocks, about his astronomical masterpieces. And I was so flabbergasted, so impressed by his work that as soon as I could, I took the train to the northern part of Holland, to Jouren, which is still written on the dial, Jouren, as birthplace of the company. And I was there in his garage. It was very nice. He painted the huge planetarium on the garage door to let everybody know that the factory was there in his garage. All the very old machines, the Swiss Schubling machines, where he turns the wheels, was all there. And those old machines we still have and we still use here in our factory today. But anyway, I was visiting him, and that was at the time that I just visited Geneva for a Patek and also met Peter Stas. And so I explained him all that, and I said, I have this opportunity to go to Switzerland, but I rather go and work with you. And at the time, Christiaan was alone. And he said, well, I appreciate it, but for your own career, it's best if you just go to Geneva for a year or two and then come back. Then you gain a lot of experience, and then you can also use that to work with me, and that helps everybody. So I said, okay, well, I do that. I went with my wife, or my girlfriend at the time. We married in the garden of my parents, and a month later we took off to live in Geneva. And so I stayed for 20-something years, and after I came back, now work with Christiaan a little bit, of course. He retired 15 years ago. He's 80 years old now. But we still have a good connection, and work together. It's not really work anymore. It's both for him and for me. It's still passion, and but we share ideas, technical ideas, and that's So it all landed on its feet.
Let's use this as a segue to talk about Mr. Christiaan van der Klaauw and the brand. For our non-Dutch speakers, how should you pronounce the brand?
Klaauw, I pronounce it like Klaauw, but in Dutch it really means Klaauw, which is the Dutch pronunciation, really means claw, like the claw of Wolverine, if you know what I mean. So in Dutch, you say Christiaan van der Klaauw. In English, Christiaan van der Klaauw.
Do you as a brand owner today find it annoying if people refer to the brand as only Klaauw, like people say Patek instead of Patek Philippe? Or do you find it annoying that they abbreviate the brand name to the CVDK?
No, I think it's good. With all the brands, Audemars, I call it now also Audemars, or Audemars Piguet, of course. Everybody says AP or PP or VC, Vacheron Constantin. It is easier, sure. And of course, I find that very useful.
So maybe let's coin the term on the Real-Time Show for the first time. For all the English speakers, we'll nickname the brand CVDK as the Klaauw. So hereby, Pim, you have an extra name. As of now, you're the owner of the Klaauw in the watch industry. You'll hook everybody who encounters the watches. So let's talk about Mr. Christiaan van der Klaauw. Tell us a bit about him, who he is, what makes him so special, and why he started a brand.
He started the brand. Well, let's go a little bit more back than that. Is he was born in Leiden, and Leiden is the city also where Christiaan Huygens, the inventor of the balance wheel and hairspring, he lived there as well. And Christiaan van der Klaauw, he was very passionate about astronomy. And then he did not the watchmaker school, but the instrumentmaker school. That means that he was school to make instruments. So not music instruments, but everything you can you need to build something, he can build. So all toolings or things or, everything you can see, he can build by hand. And that's very, very interesting if you combine that passion with astronomy, with the fact that you can build everything you want with some machines. Makes that it was perfectly for clock making. So he went and when he moved to the northern part, which was the northern part of Holland, was a little bit like the little Switzerland of the clock making at the time. There were all the clockmakers based, and he started his company in 1974, which is, by the way, exactly 50 years ago. So that's also why we have our 50 years anniversary this year. And he started to make clocks, and always clocks with astronomical complications, which was already back then very, very special because we have some of his older clocks also here in our manufacturer, which is now based 20 minutes from the airport of Amsterdam in a little small town called Naarden. And those clocks you have with planetarium, you have with the 3D moon phases, stuff like that. Very, very ahead of its time. That's where he started with. And in in 1996, he started to make his first wristwatch.
Tell us a bit also about IJzinga and the planetarium, the pinnacle watch within the Christiaan van der Klaauw brand.
Yeah, the IJzinga special edition. We won the Grand Prix of the horlogerie, the GPHG, which is like the Oscars of the watchmaking industry, in 2021. And it's a very, very nice story. Hey, by the way, this morning I heard that we are selected with 5 other watches for the Grand Prix again in 2024. So in October, we will hear of our new Ariadne won the Grand Prix as well. So that's that was the good news of today.
Congratulations. I saw that. And the beauty of it is you're standing with your Ariadne next to your former friends at Frederic Constant. So that's going to be an amazing battle. Rob and I annually always do a guessing game, what watch we vote for. So we'll definitely describe your watches in the episodes of TRTS. But people will only hear this around the ceremony, which will be November 13th, 2024. Yes. So very exciting. So please continue.
Yes. So IJzer IJzinga, which has a very beautiful hand-painted dial on a planetarium. This hand-painted dial is not for nothing, because IJzer IJzinga, again, a very difficult to pronounce Dutch name, but it was a guy 300 years ago that created, which is still today, the oldest still running planetarium in the world, which is based also in the northern part of Holland. And this guy, his first name IJzer and his last name IJzinga, so not very creative of his parents, but it's a little bit too late to complain about that. But this guy was like a very, very smart kid. With 13 years old, he wrote his first math book, mathematics. So you can imagine how smart and intelligent this guy was. But anyway, at the time, the church and a couple of scientists, they said that the world will collapse because 5 planets were aligned in the sky. And those 5 planets were way too close to each other. They thought, of course, now we know that they're all turning around and one is a little bit behind the other one. It doesn't mean that they will touch each other. Distance will always be the same in the diameter. So in our solar system, it will not be possible to have a collision. But IJzer knew that, but the others were really thinking that it was the apocalypse very soon. So everybody was stressing and everybody was afraid that the world was going to come to an end. And he said, no, it's not possible. I will show you. So IJzer started to build his own planetarium in his living room. And while he was building that, he really built a moving planetarium in his living room. So on the ceiling, he painted this, what we later painted also on the dial, those wooden planks of the ceiling, he painted blue. And above that wooden ceiling, he built all the wheels and the whole mechanism of that planetarium, which is still working today. And that's also why it became last year UNESCO World Heritage. And he built this crazy planetarium with all kinds of functions. Also, you can see the eclipses and everything. Sunset, sunrise, very, very interesting planetarium. And that's what our planetarium, the IJzer IJzinga planetarium of Christiaan van der Klaauw, was based on, which won the GPHG, the Oscars of the watchmaking industry in 2021.
Using the GPHG as a segue, that wasn't the only GPHG watch you guys have kind of won, because you have supplied calibers to another epic brand that won a GPHG award. Tell us a bit about that and how that came to a partnership.
That was, of course, in the time of Daniel Maria, when they were asked of a huge brand, a jewelry brand, I have to say, Van Cleef and Arpels. They asked Christiaan van der Klaauw to make an astronomical complication for them. And that was, of course, very special because they're a big brand in Switzerland, and we are still building to get bigger, but we're certainly at that time a very small but very specifically focused on astronomy. So they asked Christiaan van der Klaauw to make a movement for them to create. Of course, they built the components in Switzerland, but we made the design and the technical, the technical parts of the movement for the Midnight Planetarium, and later for the Lady Arpels, and that one won the Grand Prix in 2018. So we have indeed quite a history already with the GPHT.
Is that partnership still ongoing?
I think they still produce it, but of course we did development, which was a two-time thing in 2014 for the Midnight Planetarium, and in 2018 for the Lady Arpels.
Talking of GPHG partnerships, my idea runs to the only watch entry you guys have created, an amazing piece together with your old friends at Koeslag. Tell us a bit about how that came to fruition, how it did on the auction, and are there plans to produce this watch into a serial produced regular model?
Yeah, that's a good question, because the idea came to create a watch for Only Watch. Only Watch, the auction, which exists, I think, since 2005, if I'm correct. And every 2 years, there's an auction for a good cause. And personally, or not personally, but I mean with Frederic Constant, I participated since 2007. And always, it was like Peter Stas and Aletta, the owners at the time of Frederic Constant, they were like, okay, we want to participate, so please go crazy with technical stuff. So I created every 2 years something special, balance wheels in another kind of material, or meteoroid dials, or something special. And of course, they wanted to do that again with Frederic Constant. And I wanted to do that with Christiaan van der Klaauw. So I thought, well, we're still like, of course, I did not work there anymore, but we're still like friends. So I thought, okay, let's create something crazy together. So we did. We created a tourbillon planetarium. So a tourbillon mechanism. So of course, I was also in charge of that project of the tourbillon, which we introduced in 2008 with Frederic Constant. So basically, we took the tourbillon, we transformed it in a tourbillon planetarium, which is, of course, never done before. And we created one piece, which was auctioned this year. And we probably will make a very small series of watches, of course different, but with that particular movement. Now, of course, I'm talking before I'm allowed to talk, but there you go.
So here is another scoop at the Real Time Show. You heard it first on the show. Thank you, Pim, and we're not cutting this out. So Talking of pushing the boundaries, thinking out of the box, coming up with crazy stuff. 50th anniversary. The Klaauw, Christiaan van der Klaauw. You worked with him on an amazing, amazing innovation, a new page in the history books of watchmaking. What did you launch on October 10th to celebrate the 50th anniversary?
When I first really gave the green light that, okay, that's what we will make, I did not expect that it turned out this complicated. Because the watch we introduced is the Grand Planetarium Eccentric, which is, as the three words of the name explain, a Grand Planetarium, which is a full dial planetarium, and also incorporates the 8 planets of our solar system, so the whole solar system. And on top of that, it is not a centrical planetarium as the one we introduced. I think the first version of the planetarium movement of Christiaan van der Klaauw was introduced in the year 2000. But this one is eccentrical. So like our real universe, the sun is in the center, and around the sun, there are 8 planets. And those 8 planets are not turning in a perfect circle, but they're turning eccentrically. And this is very complicated to make because you cannot just make a couple discs turn around the sun and then put the planets on that. But you have to make what we now did to make it eccentrical is that you have one dial, and there you cut small rings out of the dial, which creates the fact that you have no longer one dial, but you have 10 different dials or 10, kind of disc. And in between those discs, the planets will hover around the dial, so above the dial. Very complex. Just to give you an idea how complex it is, for our planetarium, for the smallest planetarium in the world that we have introduced in 2000, we need a gear train with around 700 teeth to make this mechanism work. And now in this mechanism, we need 3,338 teeth to make it work. You can imagine, it's mind-boggling complicated. So to explain a little bit more, the first planet, the closest to the sun, is the planet Mercury, which is turning the fastest. The closer the planet is to the sun, the faster it turns. And so one cycle or one orbit of planet Mercury has a duration of 88 days. Then we have Venus with 224 days. And then we have Earth. Of course, the Earth is turning once in a year, which is 365 days. And it is determining our calendar. Our calendar is based on that. It's 1 year. You have the seasons, and of course divided by the months, etc. And then we have Mars. Until now, we had 6 planets until Jupiter, and Jupiter was turning only once in 29 and a half years. And that was already quite slow, of course. But now we add another with the Grand Planetarium Eccentric. We add another 2 planets. So we have Uranus and Neptune added. And Neptune is the the outside planet of our solar system, which is turning once in 164 years. So it's the slowest wheel and the biggest wheel ever made in a watch. I hope you can visualize a little bit how complex and how special this piece is.
My recommendation to our dear listeners is, while this airs, it will be up on the website. If you are into astronomy, check and Google IJs IJzinga. Check the, in brackets, regular planetarium, and then look at the Grand Planetarium. And while you're at it, Google the Van Cleef & Arpels one as well. It's amazing. How many patents have you registered for this?
It is very complicated to have a patent on a planetarium because the planetarium itself exists. But of course, we register the design features of this watch. But the mechanism you cannot.
I'm privileged to have known about this project over a year ago already. You've shown me hand-drawn sketches by Mr. van der Klaauw. Can you elaborate a bit about that?
Sure. That's how this project became a project, I would say, because in 1982, Christiaan made a clock which was called the Kepler, and the Kepler clock was a table clock which had 6 planets, but also eccentrical. And his wish was always to make a watch out of that, to make the whole system smaller and put it in a wristwatch. So I think it was just about the time that I became major shareholder of this company. I was talking with Christiaan, who had a small workshop next to our workshop in the northern part of Holland. And he was showing me very proudly this Kepler clock, but then in a wristwatch. So he created a full dial planetarium with 6 planets, but eccentrical. And that, of course, I was very impressed because he was making everything by hand. The drawings, which I showed you, by a passer, by a compass and a pencil, everything by hand. Calculations, everything he did in his brain. And sometimes the calculation about the wheels and the turning of the planets goes to 9 to 10 digit numbers after the dot. That precise, he calculated everything. And so he showed it to me and I said, wow, that's amazing, let's create a production watch out of it. Because at the time I was building like crazy our distribution network. And so we grew from maybe when I took over, we had like maybe 10 retail outlets, retail stores that were selling Christiaan van der Klaauw in the world. And at the moment, we are about to touch 40 point of sale. So I was thinking, if we can make it like Christiaan, then we can make probably 2 watches a year, which will create a huge fight because everybody wants it. And I cannot deliver more than 2, so it doesn't make any sense. So if I want to make this watch, then we have to do it differently. And we have to industrialize a little bit. Of course, we want to create or make it by hand, but we have to organize it differently. And we have to create this 3-dimensional drawings. So we don't have to cut still by hand to make it work. But if the components are ready, it should work directly and it should work forever. And that's was our strategy. we took the beautiful drawings of Christiaan and we added the two more, well, it sounds very easy, but added the two more planets. Christiaan added the two more planets, also made the drawings by hand. And then those hand drawings I converted to state-of-the-art drawing in the computer, 3D animations. And that was the first step to make the movement and the prototypes of this. Then the generation after Christiaan, Daniel Maria Rijntjes, who were owner of Christiaan van der Klaauw for 15 years. And they were really specialized in design and the marketing part. And they made a beautiful design of the case and dial, which I, kind of mixed the whole thing of the three generations and shook it a little bit. Easy talk, but after 2.5 years, we finally showed it to the world on the 10th of October, which was, of course, a huge introduction of this beautiful, most complicated Christiaan van der Klaauw ever made, and also directly the most complicated planetarium watch ever made.
Boom! And that's
how it's done.
And that's a new chapter in watchmaking.
Exactly.
Our listeners are now totally intrigued and they want to obtain one. What is the procedure? Is the limited edition? What versions are you making? How can they obtain a personal piece?
Yes, of course. They have to call Ace Jewelers in Amsterdam.
Well, this is not an Ace show, and today I have a journalist hat on. So you guys have authorized dealers in the world.
Yes.
The watch is not limited per se per model, but per annum. So you can only make an X amount of calibers a year, right?
Exactly. I did not want to make a special or a limited piece out of it because, just frankly speaking, this investment in this movement is so big that I will shoot myself in the foot if I would do that. It just cannot be done. So we will, of course, building a very limited number of pieces. Idea is to make between 10 and 20 pieces a year of this beautiful watch. And the first model that we're going to introduce is the rose gold version with the aventurine dial and the platinum version with an aventurine dial. That's the first beautiful watch that we're going to introduce with this particular movement.
How much of it is made in-house? Because I did not touch upon the fact that also in the 50th anniversary year, you actually launched your own manufacture caliber. Tell us a bit about that, please.
Exactly. Yeah, we honestly do so many things that I sometimes forget the very essential things. Yes, our manufacturer movement was introduced in January and is also featuring in this new ground planetarium. But it is the main movement for our masterpieces or masterpiece collection. And this beautiful decorated movement built in-house, which has a 60-hour power reserve. And it's a huge addition to an upgrade from what we had in the past. That was a Swiss techno-time movement, which is a very, very good movement. But now it's really going to the next level if we talk about horlogerie. Very beautiful, hand decorated and laser decorated. So we have a very beautiful combination of decoration on the star-shaped bridges, which is all in the theme of astronomy.
How much is actually done in-house in the Netherlands?
That's a good question. I did not really calculate. And of course, we have also Swiss suppliers. But the cool thing is, you've been in our workshop as well, is that we have all those machines, these machines that are cutting the wheels like Christiaan did for his clocks 50 years ago. And this is really one of the, I think, special features of our brand, because this you never see anywhere else. That the wheels and the pinions are still cut by hand.
I can vouch for that because I am blessed and fortunate to actually live nearby and visit the ateliers rather often, alone or with collectors. So if you are interested to visit the ateliers, please contact me. The first actual physical TRTS community meetup was in Amsterdam, and some of them were welcomed by the second PIM at the atelier. So they're very hospitable, very warm, and very eager to share the passion. And it's what you see is what you get. And my favorite part is in the total back room of your ateliers, where you guys literally cut the teeth for the planetarium. So you guys do stuff in-house.
Yeah.
Besides your amazing growing team of watchmakers, they're not only very friendly and are very eager to show and explain what they're doing. They all come from the top-notch horlogerie watchmakers in Switzerland.
Yeah, we're very lucky. Very lucky.
Well, I always say your vibe attracts your tribe, and it's because you're very knowledgeable, you're very friendly, and you're very approachable, because you sit in the front of that atelier, but whenever they have a question, I see you always run to them, and you're always there to brainstorm and help them out. So it's very organic and very fun, and I've seen quite some ateliers in my life, not as many as you, but also quite a few. I would have loved to work in your atelier, but I have two left hands, so definitely don't have me as an intern.
No. Stick what you were good at.
So, I always love talking to you, and I'm looking at the clock and I'm seeing we're slowly running out of time. And I know you need to go to another meeting because you have a very, very important delegation from a very esteemed state coming to visit you. What's in the planning for the next 50 years? Where are you going to take the brand? Share a bit of the vision and strategy with us and our listeners.
So from the beginning, I knew that this brand, Christiaan van der Klaauw, is like a raw diamond. And slowly we are polishing every facet of it. And I say slowly because you cannot rush it, and we will not rush it. But every time we have one facet polished and shining, it is another step. And so we have all those facets, which is, of course, commercial, marketing. We have the technical part, innovation part. Everywhere we are building and we are polishing. And we will take it to the next step and the next step and the next step. For example, commercially, what I said, we had official retailers. We had about 10 when I came 2.5 years ago. Now we are around 40, and only the best. So we have Sincere in Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Taiwan. but we work also with Siddiqui in the Middle East. We are working with Ethos in India, which is, of course, a huge player. And so I choose only the best if it's commercially, but also watchmakers. We have now already 8 watchmakers, and they're only the best in the world. And so step by step, we create like a very good base, a very good foundation of only the best of the world in the haute horlogerie. And that's where I want to go, because the main goal for me always is to make beautiful watches. But without sales, it's not going to happen, because then you don't have the spending power to make beautiful watches. So to pursue this main goal, beautiful watches and very wow effect innovations, that's what we want to do. That costs money. That's why we have to sell our beautiful product. And by selling our beautiful product, people get very happy and very passionate about watchmaking, about the brands. And that's exactly what we want to do. So I hope that answers your question.
It definitely does. I wanted to pry a bit more, but we're running out of time. I hope that you have enjoyed it and you'll accept my invitation to come back on the show again. I know that Rob and David really wanted to be as well, but we're recording this during the summer holidays, so they couldn't have joined. So I hope to welcome you again on the show.
Yeah, cool. It was a pleasure. I love it. Talking to you, it goes very smooth always, and it's like a usual discussion. If the mic is there or not, doesn't change anything. So that's cool.
Thank you so much. For our dear listeners, if you want to discover the Klaauw a bit more, check their website, which is dutchklauw.com, KLAAUW.com. I want to thank you so much.
You're welcome,
Pim. I wish all of you at the Klaauw and you and your family the best. I can't wait to see where you take the brand for the next 50 years. One question I do need to ask, I'm breaking my own outro, is the next generation Koeslags willing to come join you at the company?
Well, willing, I'm not sure yet. At least my son, Jonathan, is now 19 years old. And without pushing him, he asked if he could do the watchmaker school, but the commercial side of it, which I think could be perfect for him. But let's see. I don't know. Maybe somewhere in the middle he finds out that it's not his thing. That's also fine. But well, I had three kids, so 3 possibilities.
And the seed is planted, so that's good. Thank you for listening to this episode. You can find all the previous episodes on our official website, www.therealtime.show. And you can find us on Instagram at therealtime.show. If you want to support the show, please subscribe, like, rate it, and do share it with your friends that like watches. If you have any questions, feedback, and or criticism, please do send us a message. You can also send us a DM if you want to join the TRTS community on WhatsApp. You can reach David on his Instagram handle at DAVAUCHER, Rob at ROBNUDDS, and me at ALONBENJOSEPH. And if you prefer to send us an email, you can just add our first name to @therealtime.show, like our Instagram handle. Stay sane and keep on ticking.